Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. How is everybody doing out there? I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scholar fan here, and I'm so excited to be back tonight, Sunday. You know what time it is. Attack on Titan, the final season, episode 80, chapter 80 just came out. We have so much to talk about in our weekly review of the final season of Shingeki no Kyojin, and I'm very excited to keep talking about Isayama's masterpiece again here with you guys at the Amateur Otaku. And of course, I can't do this without our crew. I'm always accompanied every Sunday with Attack on Titan with the awesome Isak Wolff. What's up, man?
I'm sleepy.
And the one and only Mike.
Guys, there's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
I mean, apparently
Yeah.
Isaac's still sleeping, so I don't.
I have drinking
with all the rumbling that's about to happen.
Well, Mike's bringing the puns.
When you have 2 hours of sleep, and the day I've been doing, even rumblings can keep you asleep. If anything, it could just wiggle you to sleep like a mother taking care of a baby. I don't know where I'm going with this, but okay.
We're not gonna let Isaac talk anymore. He clearly needs a nap.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do. So I figured since we're gonna be talking about rumbling, I figured I get this out of the way. And Isaac, before you do it, I'm just gonna introduce the one and only Nintendo Rumble Pack, because there's nothing like a phenomenal N64 experience with an N64 Rumble Pack in a store near you 2,000 years from now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a segue.
What a segue.
So that was horrible.
This was the weirdest segue I've been in this channel's history, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I see, he understands what we're talking about. Yeah, man. DualSense, PS5 world, for the players. So, okay, now we have a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to derail the conversation any longer. Guys, little housekeeping. If you guys love what we do at the Amateur Otaku Podcast, click on that like button, click on that bell for notifications so you don't miss any single episode, any single stream. We cover anime content every single week. We've been covering My Hero Academia manga, My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Last week, we covered Memories from Katsuhiro Otomo. We covered Demon Slayer. We do this every single week. And of course, every Sunday, we've been covering Attack on Titan, the final season, because of course, Attack on Titan is coming to an end. So we cover it every single week. And this week is no exception.
Don't forget Project Scarred also.
Oh, yeah, we did Project Scarred, which of course saw our great friend Ryan Colt Levi as the star. So that was awesome. So we covered that this week too. But if you love what we do at the Amateur Otaku Podcast, make sure you click the like button, click on that bell for notifications so you don't miss anything. Also, yes, Perp. What a Sunday. Also, if you love what we do in our podcast form, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Amateur Otaku is everywhere. But do remember that the Attack on Titan reviews are YouTube exclusive. Once the series ends, we will do a full recap episode, and we will include that in our podcast channel. If you guys want to listen to Attack on Titan, our take in the podcast channel, let us know in the comments, and we'll make sure we add it also to the podcast stream. But guys, let's get to it. We're here for a reason. We're here to talk about this chapter. This chapter is called From You in 2,000 Years. I think that's the right name, right?
From You 2,000 years ago.
From You 2,000 years ago. That is today's episode. I saw this twice. I have so much to talk about. But of course, I don't want to start the conversation. Guys, general idea, consensus. Mike, thoughts on this episode?
As a manga reader, this is one that you just wait for. You waited so long to see come to fruition. And just to see everyone's minds get blown by what just happened in this episode.
Mhm.
That was great. But let's like ignoring all of that, just as a fan watching this episode,
Yeah.
it was fantastic. And I only watched it once, so I'm sure you got even more out of it than I did watching it a second time.
Yeah.
The way they animated the eyes on Ymir the entire episode, how they're
Yes.
like shaded in gray.
Yes.
And then in the final moments when she's with Aaron, her eyes finally are clear. She sees the light, right? She's
Yep.
finally metaphorically free, which is what Aaron's been striving to do this entire time. That is his
Mhm.
mission. That is his goal. That's what we've been talking about every single week. And it's scary. It's
Yeah.
scary. Like once we finally cut back into real time after what, like 3 episodes being in that like mystical realm they were in before, and you just see what's happening and the shock and horror of everybody that's there seeing these titans rise up. It blew my mind a second time, dude. It's incredible. I'm speechless. I'm gonna stop rambling so you guys can share your thoughts.
Isaac.
Are you sure you don't mean you want to start rumbling about it?
Good night,
Please.
everybody.
Please do. Please do. Please do.
But anyway, I did. And what Mike said, I agree with tenfold. It was just maybe maybe there was some questionable CGI animation in with the wall titans. I will admit, but as an overall episode, it was just fan freaking tastic. Especially, not especially, even as someone that, as like Mike said, have read the manga. So,
Agreed. 100% agreed. There's so much that occurs in the episode that I think is just powerful. And I like one of the things that I like the most about it. There's so much to talk about, right? But one of the things that I like the most about it is that we're finally seeing Aaron. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think to me is one of the biggest reveals of the final season is the fact that for the longest time we're seeing Aaron playing a role, right? And it's not till this moment in the pathways, starting at the end of episode 79, and now towards this episode, that we see him clear as day, transparent, not hiding anything anymore. And there's this rage and will, and it's like reuniting with an old friend, especially when we remember Aaron and how he was in season 1. You know?
Yeah.
Like there's so much that we thought had moved, that Aaron had moved past, but no, this is the real spirit of him that has never died, that has been pushing and has been nurturing every single decision and every single thing that he's done. So many revelations in this episode. Again, I got to go back to the cinematography and direction. The pacing was perfect. It's one of those things, like the pacing was so good that I feel that so much was covered, but nothing was rushed. And I cannot believe that we only spent 23 minutes in front of a screen.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm really appreciating with this season. Especially one of my issues with the manga was a pacing issue. It's not the worst pacing I've ever seen by any stretch, but like it was a little choppy at certain points, but the pacing in the anime is like they're spending time on the moments that matter,
right?
And the ones that don't need as much focus, they're not going to give as much focus. So it's perfectly paced out. Like you were saying, was it last 2 weeks ago when they chopped Aaron's head off? Like you said, that was a cliffhanger that you had to live with for a month. Yep. Whereas that was the midway point of the episode. It's those little tweaks and changes that's making it flow really seamlessly, and that's what makes this episode especially hit so much harder for me personally than originally reading it, is that like we spend enough time with Mikasa and Armin to get like the weight of what is actually happening in front of their eyes.
Yeah.
So good.
and also the whole thing about I also like how we are getting a glimpse of everyone's reaction to Aaron. Like again, I like how we keep seeing him putting himself as the protagonist. But not only that, now he's carrying all the action. But also they're taking the time to explore what that means to every other character. Now, I think the first thing that I want to point out that to me was crazy. Think about this, guys. This part 2 has a total of 12 episodes.
Yep.
This was the 5th one. So we're gonna live the rumbling. And for those that have read the manga, you know what I mean. And this is not a spoiler, but the fact that we have 7 more episodes and so much story was wrapped up, and now this last arc, this last act is finally in motion. I feel that they want this to land, but not only that, they have set it up the way it needed to be set up. Like when I noticed that the rumbling started now, and the way it started, the way the episode ended with that vision of Aaron's founding Titan face, and I'm being very emphatic with that, because we have never seen Aaron's founding Titan face as like this is the terror or this is what's going on. To me was brilliant, because now I feel that I don't have to worry about it rushing to a close. I feel that with everything they've accomplished in the last 5 episodes, I feel that these are going to be, the next couple of episodes are going to be super intense, and it's not going to stop. And I love everything about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's again going back to the pacing. And yeah, you're right, Perp. It's a short film every episode. Yeah, it's just crazy.
That's the best way to describe it too. That's the best way to, like, that's the type of quality that we're seeing, right? It's like it feels like it's an anthology series, because there's so much depth in every scene. Like you can tell that everything's been like meticulously orchestrated, right? And I appreciate every little bit of it.
Also, like even like this episode, just visually, you understand what's happening. Like there's very little dialogue, honestly, in the Ymir flashbacks.
Yeah,
and it's like it's a short film, but also this episode is almost a silent film at certain in certain parts, and it's just so much was said, but honestly, nothing was said. A lot in those Ymir flashbacks, and it's just beautiful. It's just perfect, honestly.
Can we jump? Go ahead, Isaac.
What is it? Like saying, like the saying goes, show don't tell when it comes to visual medium.
Mm-hmm. Right. Agreed. And so how about we jump in, since you brought it up, Mike? Let's jump into the flashbacks. Let's jump in. It is the meat of the episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're finally getting Ymir's story. But the funny thing is, and this is the brilliance of storytelling, and I feel like, again, I feel that Isayama is achieving his goal of making the anime being his magnum opus version of this story. Because think about this. Yes, it's a flashback. Yes, it's a story. But the interesting thing is that it has the precedent of all the memories that we have discovered through Grisha. The idea that we're exploring it as a memory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're exploring it as a memory. So I like how there's precedent to that. But also it's painted like a fairy tale kind of, because all the textures are different. The color palettes are different. There's a lot of it's a lot more raw, right? And I like how it covers the crudeness of Ymir's life, because so what we learn about Ymir is that she was a young girl, right? We're supposed to believe that she was very, very young, very 9, 10, 11, maybe not even a teenager, right? So she lived in a place. Of course, we don't know nothing about her parents or her story. They lived in a village all together, and she liked to help people. That's what we're led to believe or led to understand, that she loves to help people. And her village gets invaded, which was, of course, something that would happen in those years, even if we were to think that there was real life, right? Because they kind of like give us an idea that this is supposed to be Europe, right? Of course, because those that know the show know that the Eldians are kind of a not a scapegoat. It's a type of Jewish allegory, kind of. The same go with the Marlians. It's like a German allegory, right? Or like a comparison or a simile or whatever. So everything is dark, bleak. Her village gets invaded. She's made a slave. Um, she and then even though she believes that she's done everything in her power to take care and love people, or take care of people and whatever, what we find out is that everybody cared only for themselves. Nobody cared for her. Everybody cared only about themselves. When she felt that she would care about others, no, everybody just cared about themselves, which is why that's a really interesting perp. I'm glad that you mentioned that. So I don't think it's that she died when she was 13. I think what happens is from the moment that she acquired the Titan power, from to the moment that she died, 13 years went by. I think that's what that means. So like
Correct.
I think that's what. It's not that she died when she was 13, but she only lived with the Titan abilities for 13 years, which is why it's called the Curse of Ymir, and that's why none of her descendants can withhold the power of the Titans for more than 13 years.
That's why Reiner is way older than 13, because when he inherited the Titan, it's 13 years from that point.
Right. So, but yeah, so she's a slave, and because everybody rats her out after a pig goes missing, she is told by Fritz that she is free. But I love how the subtitle literally puts the quotation marks. I didn't know there were air quotes back then, but you see the quotation marks like "you are free." So when she tries to run away, they try and kill her, and it happens. She stumbles into this weird cave place, and something attaches to her, and she acquires Titan powers. Now, here's what I think is brilliant, and I want your guys' take on this. And this is a big departure from the manga, and I think is done very purposefully. And I like that this decision was made because it made the episode all the better for it. For me, as a non-manga reader, and also if I had never seen the manga anymore, is that in the manga, this thing that attaches to Ymir, they make it a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They give it a lot of like explanation, an idea, like a lot of stuff goes on before we get to the scene in the memories where it gets attached to Ymir. And there's an attempt from Isayama to make it a scientific description. But I like the fact that the anime is not doing that. I love the fact that the anime, what it's doing, is focusing on the fact that whatever gave her the power really doesn't matter. What matters is how, even though she had that power, she still wasn't free. She never stopped being a slave. And how that affected her life to the point that even when she died, after bearing 3 children for this king, she gave herself for the king when someone tried to kill him, and that's where she died, right? I mean, we got to assume that it was either that she didn't want to use the power, she was tired, or at the same time, you got to think she was
Stockholm syndrome at its finest,
right? But when the spear hit her, you can kind of see that it pierced her heart, so she probably didn't even have a chance to come back, right?
Yeah, that was something that kind of threw me off at first because I'm like, couldn't she recover from that with the Titan power? But yeah, you're right.
It could be that, but at the same time, you got to think she was tired. She didn't want to do it anymore. But at the same time, she allowed herself to, even after death, she allowed herself to remain a slave. And that's the whole thing that they're telling us is that not only was she made into a slave, for whatever reason, she was convinced that's all she could be. And it's the idea that when you condition someone, you traumatize someone, it doesn't matter what abilities or how much power that person has. That person needs their mind to be liberated. And I like how her story is the way that they bring this concept to the forefront. Like you have this whole thing about Aaron's conversation about freedom or his ability to choose, or how he doesn't want anybody to take their freedom away from him. And now they're explaining it's kind of like it's like a case study, right? We can even say the case study. I wouldn't be surprised if someone's going to grab this and teach a lecture on this, like the case study of Emir, like the idea of someone, that kind of layered dichotomy or analysis of between freedom and slavery. What's the power of choice? You know what I mean? Like, what's the power? Like it goes back to like a lot of stories or a lot of books have been written about some of the slaves in America, a lot of the African-American slaves, that even though they knew they were slaves, they always looked for moments or opportunities where they could express their freedom, which is where you get all the gospels and hymnals and stuff like that while working or finding ways to explore their own culture, even though they're within that captivity, right? The idea that freedom is an idea and emotion, not just the fact that you have shackles in your hands. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of the argument that they're making. And I just find it so beautiful and interesting because it all circles back to the final conversation that we have with Aaron. What Aaron speaks to her about. The idea that why her eyes were all blurred out is because she never thought about herself. She never thought that she could be more than what she was told. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about this, guys? I mean, I don't want to talk all the time, but I just wanted to do a quick. I wanted to do a recap of that flashback, but also what I found was the most interesting thing about it. But what do you guys say?
I mean, you're 100% correct, right? Like that's why that is one of the most heartbreaking moments in the entire series. It might be the most heartbreaking moment for me, honestly, because it's so crazy. And yeah, Perps in the comments talking about parallels and everything and how that's working. Like there's also parallels between Ymir and Historia, right? Like being forced to have children to carry this Titan power, this founding power on. And it's just insane that it's a cycle that's just never going to stop unless Aaron gives them a choice, right? And that's what's driving him. And it's like, we saw this, but also Aaron in this episode himself, he said, I've known this for 4 years. And with that context, it's like, this is why he won't stop. This is why he ripped his own thumb off in those shackles to try and make sure his vision became a reality, because it's heartbreaking. And seeing those parallels in the story, it's like it's an endless cycle that's just going to keep happening over and over until somebody steps in to do something. And we already know how this is going to play out, right? Like Grisha already told us. He already said Aaron can't be stopped. The question is, what's this world going to look like if and when Aaron is successful? And does it actually enact a real change in the society?
But and you said something in regards to the whole thing with Emir. If Aaron gives them a choice, right? Yeah. But that's the beauty about it, though, because when you think about it, Aaron's mission has never been to give people a choice. Aaron's mission has always been to make people aware you have a choice. you can actually make a decision for yourself. Yep. Because even now, when he's talking to Ymir and he's hugging her, all he's doing is, hey, I feel for you. I can see how much you've suffered. If you let me, I can make this, I can set you free if you let me do this. In other words, you can choose what happens now. You can choose. Yes, 100%.
That was so good. Such a good moment.
Yeah. And it's like, I love how Eren is, in this particular topic, he's very single-minded and direct. It's all about making people aware that they have a choice. They have a choice to choose what they want to be and what they're going to do. And he chooses not to be a slave. He chooses to not surrender his power of choice. Now, that being said, did you guys find it interesting? Because I'm very confident that this was a symbolic thing. When Eren breaks his thumbs from the shackles, that's a symbol of him surrendering control. That's a symbol of him surrendering his own power. Because without thumbs, he can't grab anything. So he's surrendering he's surrendering everything that he is to Ymir's choice. Because he knows that without her, he can't do anything. Which is why you see that moment of desperation, that moment of him trying to get to her to see if 100%, yes, the voice acting in this show is just so good. It is just so amazing. So he's running to her, and I kind of have a feeling that even though he saw the memories and all that, part of him doesn't know how it's going to play out. So that's why you see all this desperation. Because he's still, his only choice that he has is, I have to make my case to Ymir.
That's the one moment in like 2 seasons almost where it felt like Eren was he legit didn't have control of the situation.
Yep.
And he was desperate.
Yep. But he understood what it meant that he had to give everything up for the sake of. But again, it was his choice to do so. And what I like about it is that even though you see his rage, right, and as he's trying to pull his hands from the chains, he is 100% making the choice to do whatever it takes. And I like how Zeke keeps being used as an image of the same King Fritz that wanted to continue enslaving Ymir. And I like how he's completely deluded of that fact. Like, he doesn't understand that he's just prolonging the cycle in a different way. Yes, it's like his plan of euthanizing Eldians literally is saying to Ymir, I'm okay with everybody dying a slave. Which is why Eren is so against it. But I love how Eren makes that connection with Ymir. I love how he helps her wake up. Which is why I find so interesting that one of the most powerful lines in the dialogue is when Eren says, "Were you the one that led me here?"
Yeah.
What did you think when that happened?
I mean, with the way the episode's titled, it could be interpreted that the you is not Eren, that it's Ymir, right? Like that she wanted all of this to fall into place.
Exactly.
And that's what's so crazy about it, because you can look at it in 2 different ways. But yeah, that line that Eren says right then in that moment makes you pause and go like, oh my gosh, this was almost her desperate cry for help, right? Like, it took all this time for somebody like Eren, somebody whose will is as strong as Eren, to step up and finally end it.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I want to toss this one up to you, Brandon. What do you think?
No, it is. I don't disagree with what Pertmind is saying, and I don't disagree with you either, because it's like I was making notes here, like I always do before the episode, and one of the things that make me think is like the first chapter, to you in 2,000 years, literally means it's Ymir to Eren, and then this episode from you is 2,000 years ago, is Eren bringing back everything that Ymir's put into motion, everything that Ymir put through. But at the same time, I like this idea of Eren kind of being a manifestation of Ymir's desperate cry for freedom. But also it's like a lot of people don't understand that they want or need to be free. Like some people are so enslaved in their mind that they don't see that they need freedom, that they desire it, that they need it. Which is why I found it so heartbreaking that Ymir breaks down. And when Ymir breaking down due to Eren's intervention is how Eren grabs a hold of the power. But I like the fact that I kind of find it interesting also that Ymir has to be aware that what Eren's doing. So like Ymir knows what Eren's about to do. Like Ymir knows what why Eren is asking for her power. Like because apparently we're kind of led to believe based on what we see after Ymir is in the pathways. I find it interesting that it's kind of letting us believe or led to understand that Ymir is kind of omniscient with everything that's going on with the Eldians, right? That's what we're led to believe. So she knows exactly what Eren's intentions are, but I think what she sees is the intention for not just like the unselfish idea of Eren is not doing this just for him. Eren is literally doing this for his people, to set his people free. He's not doing it to enslave their people. Because you got to think about it. Everything that every royal blood founding Titan member has done is figure out a way to enslave the Eldians low key.
Mm-hmm.
And Eren's the first ones that like, you know what? Let's make this different. And you know what's funny though? So you know how the Eldians is actually the name of it's the name of the group of people that invaded Ymir's village, which means that Ymir is not an Eldian.
Correct.
So the Eldians, that is the name that was imposed on all her descendants. So it had to be someone outside of that royal family to set them free. It couldn't be a royal blood member, which I find very interesting because Eren is not a royal blood member. You can consider him like an outcast to a degree.
Yeah, it's so much going on in this episode that you watched it twice, and I feel like you still could have missed some key details 100%. And plot points that 100%. Was going on here. It's just that's what I love about the show so much, though, is that you unpack something different every single time, and it's just crazy to me the level of thought that 80 episodes ago the titles line up like to you from 2,000 years, and this one 80 episodes later from you 2,000 years ago. It's just you don't see that level of detail and care in a series. Like usually you're kind of fumbling as you go along and the pieces start to come together after season 1 and blah blah blah, but it's just like it just amazes me how well thought out everything is in Attack on Titan, how many different layers there are in the series, that watching this back, like you just finish the series out and you play it back from beginning to end, I'm sure that's going to be a crazy experience.
That's actually something that I've been wanting to do. Like I started collecting the manga volumes because I wanted to read the whole thing again through. I haven't had a chance to, but that has to be something crazy. Like watching as the show evolves, the story evolves with every single chapter has to be something nuts.
Yeah.
Now, I think after Isaac, before I move on to another part, is there anything you want to comment? Anything you want to talk about? The whole thing with Eren, the founder, and all that?
No, I think you guys are pretty much on point.
I legit thought you fell asleep for a second.
I mean, I almost fell asleep in Titan.
I was muting myself just because you had a good conversation. So
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room now. So we talked about how the whole thing with the centipede or whatever that is, like attached to Emir, has not been. Yeah, we talked about how they chose not to give it that much importance because they want to focus on the actual character, not on the power. Like I like how the whole thing with the Titans, right, has now become like just one layer of what the story's about, because it's really all about the struggles of these people trying to live out their choices and their visions, which to me is a more interesting story than just Titans, right? Apart from, but then of course we're going to see a lot of Titan because the rumbling has started, right? But I love the animation of how the centipede is alive within the founder, how it's showing the manifestation of the founding Titan, Aaron's version of the founding Titan. But the elephant in the room is not that. The elephant in the room is Aaron's declaration at the end of the episode.
Before we even touch on that, Brandon, I just want to rewind for a second and
go.
What were you guys' thoughts on when we finally come back into real time, present day, and we see Aaron's head in Zeke's palm? Like that visual was just insane to me because you're just like, what the heck is happening?
Yep. No, and it's not even just that. The whole thing with the eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was nuts. It was just nuts. It was just nuts.
You know, like reading that, my jaw hit the floor. Watching that, I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, they got me again.
Yeah. No, and not only that, and the animation is just superb. It was just so good, so fluent. And just the Titan transformation was just jaw dropping.
But yeah, not to cut you off. You can go back to what your main point was.
Oh no, you're fine. It's Aaron's declaration, and the idea that he is using the powers of the founder in a way that nobody has seen before, that we know, right? Of course. And it's saying that he has the power of the founding Titan. He's awakened all the Titans, and that his goal is to destroy every living being beyond the shores of Paratus. So he's talking about genocide, global genocide. That's literally like, we can't escape the fact that that's what he's talking about. He's talking about killing every single little being in the world. And that's crazy. It's not justified. But here's the thing that I find interesting also is the parallels between Aaron and Ymir. And it's that Ymir lived a simple life until the outside attacked, right? Mm-hmm. And Aaron always wanted to live beyond the borders of Paratus, but couldn't because the outside was there. So anybody that's come from the outside has always tried to rob him of his freedom, to rob his people of his freedom or his life or whatever. So I'm not saying that it's justified, but I can say that I understand how he can get to a point where he sees that the only way that his people can know freedom is by destroying everybody else around. So they're the only ones that remain, which is very radical and
super radical. It's gonna be like, how does the rest of our cast react to that, right? Like,
exactly.
How does Armin and Mikasa, Connie, how do they all react to what's going on?
Yeah,
especially since all of them know Aaron's plan, right? That's what makes that declaration so powerful, is that he's like, I'm not just gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure you all know what I'm about to do.
No, and he's letting everybody know. And the whole thing is not just them. I like the fact that you see the glimpses of all the Eldians all over the world. So every subject of Ymir globally knows that this is going on. knows that Eren Yeager is using the Fountain Titan's power to do this. And the fact that they are the only people that know. That everybody else around the world, all they're going to do is hear the rumbling. It's see the rumbling. Is feel the rumbling. Which is crazy. And I like how we got a glimpse of what you just said, Mike, that the idea of how everybody's going to react to everything, because that whole thing with Armin when he goes like, yes, Eren's on our side, he's here, he's home, and then he notices, wait a minute, why is he unleashing every single Titan in the wall? But this wall was enough. Isn't this overkill? If we're just going to defeat Marley and then you get the Flash, it's not just about this enemy. It's about destroying our current enemy and any other possible enemy.
Exactly.
And the idea that at the end of season 3, and I keep going to this moment because it's one of the most tender and heartbreaking moments of the series, when Eren is in the ocean finally after 3 seasons. He's seen the ocean for the second time, actually, because the first time he saw the ocean was in Eren Kruger's memories. So, tidbit. So the second time he sees the oceans, he's saying with tears in his eyes, if we kill our enemy over there, will we finally be free? And now he doesn't have the answer to this question because he doesn't, but he says, this is what I think I need to do to achieve that. So he does it. And these are going to be some crazy episodes coming up.
Whatever it takes, right?
We are in the end game now.
Yeah, it's just wild because Eren is our protagonist of the story.
Yeah.
But when you make a decision, like when you decide, I'm going to go and commit genocide for the sake of my people, it makes you like, we understand where he's coming from. We 100% understand where Eren is coming from, especially all the crap he's seen through the Founding Titan's power or the Attack Titan's power. But it's still like, ooh, you're conflicted. It's like, I get it, but if you stop him, now his people have a target on their backs, you know? Yeah. Like, they're going to do anything that they can to stop Eren. So if our crew decides to go and take down Eren, that puts all of them in danger.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what comes next? And that's the biggest takeaway from this episode for me. That was the biggest takeaway from this chapter for me. It's like, what does the end game of this series actually look like? Because in season 1, you think, kill all the Titans. And now all of a sudden it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't think
Eren the bad guy or the good guy? Who are we rooting for? What do we want to happen? Where is this going to go?
And you know what the craziest thing about the whole thing is that I find super interesting also is that Eren is doing this solo.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I'm choosing to do this. I don't know, man. So much talk about freedom, choice.
He essentially wants the solo XP. Let's face it.
Oh my God. That's so bad.
Welcome back, Isaac.
I mean, with every step he gathers XP. Oh, that's dark. Sorry.
I just didn't know when to chime in because you had a good points overall. So that's why I've been quiet.
You're good, dude. You're good.
you know what I find interesting also too? You see how terrified Zeke is about everything, right? And
he is shook, man.
Yeah. And I also like, because it's easier to make it as, I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm gonna stop. But yeah, guys, this is an awesome episode. What a great episode. I love how we had these 2.5 dramatic, acting heavy episodes, and now we have for the next 7 episodes we have this rumbling, this whole thing.
Yeah. Speaking like a moment we didn't really even talk about though is Zeke, right? When Grisha hugs him.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I'm sure Zeke has honestly longed for this entire time.
Yeah.
And it was such a powerful moment. But Zeke is just like he doesn't know what to do. He's legit stunned for the last 2 episodes by what's going on around him. I know, right? Like you can't get mad at Zeke for what's happening. Like it has to be a nightmare because like he thought he had his brother. He thought he had this grand plan he was going to enact, and it just all fell apart in a matter of seconds. Because again, in real time, Aaron's head was still flying towards him. So it's just like, oh man, it's so much going on, and it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel forced. It's just awesome.
Truth. Now, you know what the coolest thing is, and we can probably do this whenever we do the recap. But isn't it crazy how every outro throughout the series is just giving us glimpse into the future? Like,
I mean, it would be weird if it gave us a glimpse of the past.
Hey, My Hero Academia actually did that once. It's kind of weird.
but like for example,
yeah, fine.
We since I think it's since the outro of season 2, we've seen the rumbling. We've seen the 3 daughters of Ymir eating Ymir. There's glimpses of that in the outros, which is just nuts. The fact that now we're seeing the actual scenes, I just find it so interesting. I was just thinking about that.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I've said my piece. Have you guys satisfied?
You know, I'm as satisfied as I can be with this episode. I'm just really excited for next week because I feel like I say that every week, but like legit, next
it's a good thing though.
Is when things go down.
Yeah. And I'm still marveled at the fact that we still have another 7 episodes. I feel that we've seen so much in only 5 episodes. Yeah. Like it's like you know how when you like, I don't know if you guys saw Game of Thrones or whatever, but you know how when you saw Game of Thrones and every episode was like 40 minutes or 60 minutes, it was like it was a night. You know what I mean? Like it was a night. Like Attack on Titan is achieving that with 23-minute episodes. I don't know how they do it.
It's like only 2 shows have really made me feel that way. It's Attack on Titan, and then it's Batman the Animated Series, right? Like you go on this Batman adventure, and it's only like 20 minutes long, but each episode felt like a mini movie.
Yeah.
And then you got a treat of like a 2-parter once in a while with Batman the Animated Series, and it's just like when you can tell a well-rounded story in that short amount of time, and you don't have to have the cliche next time on Dragon Ball Z type ending where it just leaves you hanging, and we drag the fight out with Zabuza for like 20 episodes in Naruto.
Yep.
But it's like when you can tell this entire story in this one episode and leave you satisfied but still leave you longing for more.
Yep.
That is a perfect episode of television for me.
True. Well, guys, there you have it. Chapter 80 of Attack on Titan, the final season. This is amazing. We can't wait to talk about it next episode. Very interesting name, Thaw, which for those that read the manga know what that means. It has multiple. I love all these episode names with multiple meanings, but I'm not gonna. If you guys, I don't know. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm not spoiling anything. Damn it. So, looking forward to next week's episode. Let's do some shout outs and let's get out of here, guys. Isaac, where can people find you, my brother?
Well, you can find me over at my work over at Webm Entertainment, and you can find me on Emblemaniac on Twitter, and I can announce for next week that we are doing a Horimiya for as one of the episodes for this week, me and Brandon. Next week is also the Demon Slayer, and also I can finally announce that we're doing the Ninja Resurrection commentary track, which is just me giggling like a schoolgirl right now.
Hot.
It will just be so glorious. And fun fact, Brandon, I can tell you this right now. I have found something else from my old school collection that is possible for us to do a commentary track on as well. Mike has seen a glimpse of it, and well, we're going to do that. I'm not going to say what it is, but we are going to do that soon. And you have nothing to say about it.
So the rumbling's happening, right? So I guess I won't be here next week. Mike, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me at Novice Cinephile, right here, my screen name, on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and the Novice Cinephile on Instagram. This week on the YouTube channel, we just have one video. It is Fully Coolly Progressive Episode 2. So making my way through that series. It's a fun time so far. As far as TikTok, had an Attack on Titan video that I dropped up there this morning. If you guys want to check out that meme. But keep your eyes out for some more Avatar stuff. Legend of Korra's 10th anniversary is coming up. So there's something special coming up for that as well. And Collider.com, where I'm covering the Olympics and the Super Bowl next week. So, unfortunately, I won't be here for this episode, but I will be watching that episode and be caught up for the week after. So, yeah, but check out Novice Cinephile on all your social media platforms to keep up with my content there.
Sweet. You can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter and at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Instagram. Have it awesome, guys. See you next time. Peace.
Eren Yeager.
Peace.